This is Carrie Johnson with the Iowa Department of Management, and I'm going to be discussing part 3 of the webinar series to assist county auditors and their staff as they submit valuation via the Department of Management's online valuation system. Part 3 is really going to talk about what type of data is actually submitted or uploaded into our system and what that process looks like. So when you're importing data to Department of Management, if you don't want to override the district names in the state system, make sure that your system places an X for the tax district names. And the type of data that you're going to be importing are as follows. So you have you're going to be importing for each and every tax district, the tax district number, which is a 5 or 6 digit number, the tax district name, or an X, property type, rural or urban, city ag, yes or no, city exempt, yes or no, TIF, yes or no, TIF type, base or increment or no, if it's no for the TIF. Frozen base year, which is a 4-digit year, frozen base amount, which is a whole dollar number, base district code, which should be a 5 or 6 again digit state taxing district number, receiving TIF type, which is what type of TIF are we dealing with here? Is it a city TIF? Is it a county TIF, etc.? Receiving levy authority code, which is what is the levy authority code of the TIF authority that will be receiving the TIF revenue. And then you'll upload the 100% and the taxable value for each and every class of property, along with the number of homesteads. So the data imported into PVAL, again, 100% and taxable valuations. Negative numbers or produced negative numbers are not permitted. 100% value is reported in the first column and taxable value is reported in the second, and that is of course the amount calculated after application of the statutory assessment limitation as determined by Department of Revenue. So you would have received the rollback figures around the end of October, and they are also shown in the online system. Valuations for gas and electric utilities that pay a replacement tax don't pay property tax, and they are not subject to a statutory assessment limitation. The IDR does certify both 100% or an assessed value for them and a taxable value, but the difference is not due to rollback. So the 2021 rollback figures for fiscal 23 budgets are as follows. Ag property is to be taxed at a percentage of 89.0412%. Residential property is to be taxed at a percentage of 54.1302%. Multi-residential property is to be taxed at a percentage of 63.75. Commercial, industrial, and railroad are taxed at a percentage of 90%. And utility property is taxed at a percentage of 100. So again, the data that is going to be imported into the valuation system, you're going to be importing for each and every tax district, whether or not it is rural or urban. So within a city or outside a city, obviously. You're going to be reporting whether or not a city taxing district is a city ag, yes or no. And if it is yes for city ag, then those are urban tax districts that contain ag value, and they're taxed at a different rate that's specified in the Code of Iowa. They're taxed at the rate of $3.00375. You're going to report whether or not it's a city exempt district. A Y is used to flag those situations where it's a tax district that's wholly exempt from the city taxation. So it's when a city agrees to a transition for the imposition of city taxes against property within an annexed area. So a certain percentage of that value for that area is reported in a regular city district, and a percentage is reported in a different city district that is everything but the city rate, so a city exempt district. You're going to report whether or not the tax district is TIF, yes or no. TIF type, so if the tax district is flagged as yes for TIF, then it must be either a TIF base or a TIF increment. If the tax district is flagged N for TIF, then the TIF type is also N, obviously. Frozen base year is a 4-digit year for the year for the frozen base. If you've created a TIF base but you don't have the year established yet, you can enter all zeros for the frozen base year. But remember, once that frozen base year is determined, you need to come back into the system and update that with the actual year for the frozen base. Frozen base amount, that's where you enter the 100% frozen base year valuation assigned to the district. And remember, do not increase the amount for this frozen base information field for those budget years when unneeded increment is diverted to base valuation. That's in relation to the budget year base, not the frozen base. Base district code, for those that are increment districts, this is the 5 or 6 digit associated base taxing district number. And keep in mind, it's very important that the associated base district number is correct, or certain reports won't be accurate, and you can't associate a TIF base district with more than one increment district. Receiving TIF type, I is used for city urban renewal, O is used for county urban renewal, J for community college jobs training, and Z is used for the rural improvement zone authority, so those private lake districts. Receiving levy authority code, so this is the official levy authority code for the TIF authority that actually is going to receive the TIF property taxes. So then we move on into the different classes of property. Of course, we have residential, and please note that dwellings that are located on ag property must be classified as residential and listed on line 1. And the residential rollback would apply to those dwellings. Ag land and ag buildings, the only classifications that should appear on the valuation report here are the ag taxing districts within a city and ag land and ag buildings other than residences. So commercial and industrial property, there was some changes that passed in relation to wind conversion property, so you want to make sure to note that. But commercial property should be reported and industrial property reported on those two separate lines, line 4 and 5. Multi-residential property is the next line. We do have a reserved line for future property tax additions. Railroad valuations are separately reported on line 8. Utilities without gas and electric, so these are utilities such as telecommunications. And on line 9, you're going to enter the values for those utilities subject to local property taxes as certified by Department of Revenue. This is not gas and electric value. This is not railroad value. It's utilities. And line 10 is other, and that could be things such as mineral rights, interstate railroad bridges, toll bridges. If you as a county have something that's classed as other, you should already know that. Line 11 is the gross value without gas and electric. So this is a sum of lines 1 through 10. Line 12 is military exemptions. So just to note, if a military tax exemption on ag land within a city is partially used in a regular city levy authority district, the balance may be deducted from the city ag. Negative numbers are not permitted for military exemptions, and you do report the military exemption on both the 100% and the taxable. So line 13 then is your total net, and that is gross valuation less military exemptions. Line 14 is the gas and electric value. It's only gas and electric property that's subject to the utility replacement tax here. Assessed value is placed in the 100% column, and taxable is placed in the taxable. Again, this property is not subject to rollback, and it is possible for the taxable value to be higher than the 100%. Open spaces land, this would be any value of land acquired by the State Department of Natural Resources under the Open Spaces program. And number 16, you're going to be reporting the number of homestead credit claims. So that's in a nutshell the type of data that you're going to be submitting to the system. And again, this is going to come from your software system as a .dat file. So when you're ready to import, you go to our system and select on the left-hand side, import data. And you're going to see an option to choose your file and upload. So you choose your file to go find that file on your system. A lot of times folks just put it like on their desktop. So they browse to locate that DAT file and select it. And then you'll see that it'll be listed here. And then to actually upload the file, you click upload. And this will tell you then that the file validated successfully and you can confirm to save the data. This doesn't mean that there's, certainly no errors or you're completely done. This is really just the start of the process. You get that data into the system and then start working with it, running reports and double checking things. So this is the first step again. So you import the data. If you get this green check mark, it means that it didn't see any initial flags with your data, any major issues with the actual import. So it's going to accept that data within the system and you're going to confirm. So it'll tell you then that the data was updated successfully. There are times that people get stuck right on this upload step. Some common errors are a taxing district was switched in the local software from rural to urban or urban to rural. So the system is going to compare and see what your file says versus what we show in the online system. If you call a tax district a rural district and the system calls it an urban district, it's not going to accept that upload. So just kind of be aware. Additionally, you might have situations where the tax district was switched in the local software from a base to an increment or vice versa. Again, the system is going to be checking for those kinds of discrepancies. And if in 2020 you called something a base district and in 2021 you try to call it an increment district, the system's not going to accept that change. Another issue is a taxing district that was created or deleted on the local software, but the same change wasn't made in the property valuation system prior to upload. So if you created new tax districts on your local software, you have to create them in the online system before you can upload your DAT file into the online system, because all the tax districts essentially have to match up in every way. So, for instance, say you imported the data and you got this error. It's telling you the following tax district has not been set up in the application. This must be done for all tax districts before importing data. So it's telling you for this tax district, you haven't set it up in the online system yet. This is not going to be accepted. You need to go set it up in the online system, then try your import. Again, and this is an example of the other error, you have two tax districts that include changes to property type, et cetera, that are not allowed. So it's telling you the tax districts, you can see it here. And this tax district in your file is called R for a rural tax district, but in the online system, in the 2020 values that were there before, they were called a urban district, and you can't make that change. And this is example 2 where something is flagged as ag land in your file. So in your local software, it's flagged as ag land, but it is not so flagged in the online system. And so there's a discrepancy and it's not going to accept that change. As you work in the system and you upload your data, if you have any questions or run into any issues, please feel free to call me. You can contact me by email or by my phone number. Thank you.